Hey, what's up? Welcome to the Aim Higher podcast with Arrow. I'm your host, Carlos. Each week, we sit down with entrepreneurs, athletes, healthcare providers, and performance minded folk. We talk about leveling up physically, mentally, and in business. So if you want to find us online, we're on all the major social platforms at Arrow Supplements. Our website is arrowsupplements.com. You can check out products and you can find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. So let's get into it. Today, special guest that I've known for a bit of time, and I'm quite excited to talk to you because there are questions that I have to ask. So Ann is the founder and owner of Tropos and Fettle in Food, also a very impressive ultra marathon runner. But why don't you take that and give yourself an intro?
It's always harder talking about yourself.
Yeah, but I mean, you got a lot to humble brag
For
about.
sure. Yeah. So Fettle and Food is my nutrition coaching company. And then I'm a co-owner of Tropos Fitness Club, which is kind of adult fitness, personal training studio. So those are my two businesses that I'm kind of working in all day. Ultra trail running is kind of my passion, my outlet physically. I love being in nature, in the woods, in the mountains. My body's just suited for running. So it was kind of just like a match made in heaven when I found it. Yeah.
Nice.
And then, yeah, I'm a mom. I have a 3-year-old as well. So that all keeps me quite busy.
Okay. So before we get into it, some light stuff. What's been the highlight of your day so far?
Oh, geez. The highlight of my day. So I was like back to back with clients all day.
Yeah.
But I managed to get a nice little 2-hour chunk in with one of my owners of the gym, which was really cool. We don't usually get that much time together. So I'd say that was my highlight of the day.
Okay, nice. Oh, this is, I think, where a lot of our conversation is going to be sort of around, but what have you eaten today?
Okay. So you want the whole, like everything I've eaten?
Or what's the best thing you've
Well,
eaten today?
I'll give you my whole day, what I've had. It's going to shock you how much food I've had.
It's in your
It
chronometer
is. It's
too.
all tracked. I can tell you the exact macros.
There we go.
So I wake up and I have some water and some coffee. And then breakfast, I kind of have like an hour-ish after, which I had like a turkey and egg white scramble with veggie, with some spinach, 2 pieces of sourdough toast. And then mid-morning, I had overnight oats with Greek yogurt, honey, and blueberries. And then for lunch, I had chicken, rice, and vegetables. And then I had another snack of a protein bar and a banana. And then I had rice, veggies, and shrimp for dinner. And I'm going to have popcorn with butter after this.
Hey, nice. Actually, we chatted about that too. That's kind of like one of my go-tos. You feel like you get a lot of volume, but you got to be careful on the butter.
Yeah. I have like 2
say.
sets of macros that I work with depending on my training. And so today is like high fat,
Right.
higher fat, and like lower carb, but low carb is still like almost is like 300 grams for me. So
Yeah.
so I usually fit the like popcorn and butter in on those days because I have more fat. Yeah.
Okay. So let's start talking a bit about your story as a founder and a business owner, builder. So I'm like really curious about Fettle because I love, you've helped me and maybe we'll get into that as well. Tropos as well is definitely, they coincide, they work really well together. But tell me a bit about what led you to start both. Maybe if you want to start with Fettle, the nutrition side, like that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that makes more sense because like with the gym, my husband and I just like bought into it as with we were previous trainers. So a little less of like a story there for sure. So yeah, with Fettle, so I started 9 years ago. I started as a personal trainer. I quit my marketing job and started as a personal trainer. And I was about a month into working with my clients, the clients that I was like starting to acquire at this personal training gym. And I was like, oh my gosh, people are not getting like amazing results because they're not focused. They're coming in like 1 to maybe 3 hours a week. And then they're not maybe like they're not focusing on their nutrition. They're not focusing on like anything else they're doing in the other 23 hours of the day. And you only have them for that short period of time. You don't get to necessarily have all those conversations. So I went to the owner of the gym and I was like, hey, I know I've only been here for like a month, but I see there's like a really big opportunity for like a nutrition service out of here. If I go get certified, is that something I can create? And he was like, go for it. So he just gave me the agency to do that, which is amazing. So I went and did my PN, like precision nutrition level 1. I banged through it in like, I don't know, 8 weeks. And then I put together a whole plan for a nutrition service out of the gym. And so we launched that in January. So I had been training for like 4-5 months at that time. Launched it in January, and it did pretty well in its first year as I was like full-time training. I think we made like the service at the gym made like 40 grand in the first year.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so we just did like a revenue split on it. And then we kind of went into the second year of doing that. And then as the things were kind of picking up a little more and more, it was actually the owner of the gym who was like, hey, like, I think this can be its own thing. I think that makes sense. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So I took some time to kind of work on like planning that out and setting up all the things through that next year. And then it was November 2019, I kind of launched it as Fettle and Food, its own business. And I just paid rent to the gym for like office space.
Okay. So
Yeah.
like prior to, I guess, even starting as a personal trainer, you've told me you were a competitive basketball player, but like when that sort of ended, did you have like pre-personal training? I'm sure you had experience training as an athlete. Like, did you have a deep level of nutrition in general or no?
So nutrition was something like I've definitely had like an on and off kind of like rocky path with, I guess, a little
Okay.
bit. So, yeah, I was a competitive basketball player. When I was in high school in my grade 12, like end of the year where I was like recruited to go on to play university and stuff. Been through some things personally. I had a friend pass away. There was just like a lot at a very young age where I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't have the emotional regulation, and I lost a lot of weight. Showed up, so I had a really, really negative relationship with food through that. Showed up to university to play my first year, and the coach was like, "This isn't the girl I recruited."
Yeah.
So that first year of university was really tough for me, just on and off with nutrition. I'm just like feeling my body and like really struggling with like kind of control and food and like my fitness and stuff, and try to just figuring that out. And it was that coach who at the end of the season really like sat me down and had that like tough conversation and really helped me through that. Worked with him, worked with the counselor, some stuff, and then like completely bounced back that next summer. Came back in my second year and was like flourishing. Was like starting on the team like by the end of the year, that kind of thing. So that kind
Nice.
of went through some like, as I think a lot of younger teenage, early 20s girls go through since then. Nutrition has been it's been more about for me like okay fueling my body and like seeing how the difference it made and like that athletic performance and the impact that it made. So that's when I started like wanting to like learn a little bit on my own more about it. And so yeah, so then just kind of like continuing that on a little bit, but I was doing like a marketing and PR degree, so it wasn't something where I was
Okay.
like studying it. Yeah, like I was on like a very different path from like a career
Yeah.
point, but just like my passion and my athletic stuff was just kind of on the other side of that. So when I graduated from university, I went into the working world. I was working at ad agencies, project management, those types of things. And then it would just be like spending so much time in the gym and like, like I would do like half marathons. I started doing powerlifting. Like I was like, like
Oh shit.
so into all that stuff that then eventually for me I was like I really don't like there's like two different worlds that I'm like bouncing in between. And so I really like this is what I'm passionate in, this is what I want to read about and learn about. So that's when I did my personal training certification, and I was like maybe I'll
Okay.
just be a personal trainer on the side. And then when I went to like go apply at this gym, they were like full time or nothing. So that's when I kind of like dove all in. Yeah.
So like circling back to sort of I guess what you experienced through that first year sounds like it was quite challenging, especially because of some external influences. I'd be curious on like what you would say, because my understanding of your clientele is you work primarily with women, but I think what I would consider like women who are 30 and up seems to be like that average sort of age range demographic. What would be something you would say to, because hey, like the nutrition area, the nutrition space is crazy confusing, and like I feel like I'm educated more than most in a sense because of like my background, but like I mean, like for everyone out there, like and does my nutrition, because I still don't know what I'm doing in comparison. Like it's very very challenging, like super multifaceted, and there's like so much misinformation. But like I'd be curious to like what would be the maybe 3 to 5 things you would say to a 20-year-old woman who, let's say, like has a healthy relationship with food and doesn't, I don't know if eating disorder is still the right language or terminology to be used, but let's say that's not like relevant. But like what would be those like 3 to 5 things you would maybe like pass on to them? Just say like, hey, like nutrition is, crazy, but there's a lot of other factors that go into that with societal norms and like beauty standards. Yeah, what would be that kind of 2 cents?
Yeah, so like for the younger, like the 20-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's totally a tricky age for sure. Like most of my, like you kind of said, most of my clients are 30 and up, for sure. But typically, like when I do get someone who's in their 20s, or I have worked with a few like teen athletes and things like that,
Mm,
uh, it's very much like it's a pretty big discovery on my end to kind of see where they're at and where they are mentally with body image and nutrition and things like that.
yeah.
So I usually try to scope that out pretty early to get a sense of where they're at from like that mindset perspective before I'm telling them, like giving them advice and recommendations, because then I can use different language essentially.
Mm,
And so I'm very careful, because what I don't want to do is put all this like laser focus on food or calories or things like that on like a 16 to 20-year-old girl. That's not what she needs to be focused on. So it's a lot of like language. I think it's just like talking about feeling their body and talking about like typically I that when I get someone in that age range, they're typically athletes and their parents
yeah.
bringing them in to, because they're like they're not feeling their body well, or their energy's tanking, or now they're saying they're going to be a vegetarian and I don't know how to feed them for like or whatever, right? So like
Yeah.
there's like an athletic component to it. I don't work with girls in that age range from like a weight loss perspective. It's not
Right.
something I'm interested in working with, and I just refer out to a dietitian for that. So for the athletes that I have had, it's always linking it back to their sport, right? And their like their performance, because that's super important to them too. And so I'm always framing things in a way that relates to their sport or their performance or what they need to be doing from that side of things.
Okay,
Yeah,
nice. That makes sense.
and then just trying to educate them, and using like, instead of saying I want you to eat less fat, I want you to eat more protein, I want you to eat more vegetables, I want you to eat more fiber. So it's like thinking about more, not less of anything too. So
Okay, yeah.
yeah, it's more about the language, I think, in like
Yeah, you're like really in tune with the language
yeah,
for
versus
sure.
like key points. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything you found in your nutrition business over the years that you've sort of done differently from you would sort of compare to what most people in the industry are doing? Like, I'm not necessarily saying like a business differentiator in terms of like who you serve, but just something that's maybe not as common, but you really like believe in being impactful.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say I do it like I'm the only one who does this by any means, because there's so many like online nutrition coaches out there. Like it's crazy. Like, so I see a lot. I'm in business
Mm,
groups and networking groups and things like that. So I see a lot of different things. And I see there's a lot of people who are very similar to me in how we do things. What a couple of things that I really don't love in the industry and that I personally stay away from is like when you see a lot of there, and it's around the marketing, right? It's like it's like playing on people's like insecurities and vulnerabilities, like saying that like everyone's got like a hormone problem, right?
I'm laughing because you did a marketing degree, so you like know that that is pays dividends. So like capitalize on people's insecurities.
Totally, I get it, but at the end of the day,
Yeah,
like, I'm not going to sell someone something that isn't accurate and isn't valid. And
yeah,
like
totally.
some things I just find it so cringy where it's like, they're building their business around like that everyone's got a cortisol problem, or that
Right.
like menopause is a hot topic, right? So like, or perimenopause.
Yeah.
And so like people really like, putting stuff around that for like coaches saying that like, just like camping everyone into this issue, when like most people, and I've worked with like hundreds and hundreds of women and tons of them in their 40s and 50s, and like most people have a consistency and accuracy and a habit problem, not a hormone problem. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, our bodies are changing and stuff in those age ranges, and that's something we need to talk about and be considered. But like, yeah, there's just a lot. Like, I saw one the other day, and it was like all the marketing and like saying that like, oh, your problem is like fat blocking pathways need to be released, and that's your problem. And it's like, what? Like, what are you talking?
Chakras. They're talking chakras.
Like, I'm like, so it's like, and then people are like, oh my God, there's fat blocking pathways in my body that have
Yeah.
been blocked and I can't, that's why I'm not losing weight. No, you're not losing weight because you're overeating and you're
Yeah.
drinking glasses of wine on the weekend. Like, that's why you're not losing. And
Yeah.
that's to be a little bit blunt. And I've said it, I probably said it 3 times today to clients who came in, and I'm like, fat loss is simple. but it's hard.
Yeah.
Oh, like it's not as complicated as people are making it out to be. I think that's like a big thing that I'm just not gonna do. Like I'm not gonna be the person who's like using those crazy hooks on Instagram, like things like that to try to like get people to buy my coaching.
Mm.
That's just not me. It doesn't feel good to me. So for me, it's all about just like I'm just like I'm gonna educate, I'm gonna share knowledge, I'm gonna share like how I am as a coach and a human and share like the results people get with us. But like really at the end of the day, like my goal, my job is to guide someone from point A to point B. My job is not to like, I'm not delivering magic little pills, right? So it's like people hire me because they need the support and the guidance to get from where they are to where they want to be. They have to do the work. And
I think one
so
of the great things about you as well, like, because I can sort of speak from my experience getting to know you, is you really do like practice what you preach. And that's also like multifaceted. Like, I think it was quite funny when I was telling you like sort of my goals, and one of them was just pure vanity, like aesthetics. And you're like, yeah, like totally. Like I'm on board for that. That's what I do too. And it's like, but also like, you run 50Ks, you're training for 100 kilometer race. So it's like, oh yeah, like she, really understands nutrition and the multi aspects of it, not just like, I want abs. It's like, well, you can have some nice abs, but then also like, yeah, what are you doing? Like, what are you fueling for? What else is going on?
yeah. That's what I always ask people. I'm like, what do you want your body to look like? And how do you want your body to perform? Like, what do you want to do with your body?
Mm,
Well, like those are very important things as a coach to figure out with your clients is like, what do you want your body to look like? And what do you want your body to do? And then for me, then I can break that into seasons and create that like that pathway for people to be like, okay, you want to fit, you want to feel more confident naked, but you also want to be able to chase your kids and maybe run a 10K. Great. Okay, let's break that down. What's most
mm,
important to you? Okay, fat loss. You want to feel more confident. You want to fit in those clothes that you don't fit anymore. Great. For the next 3 to 4 months, we're going to focus on that. And that's what that's going to look like. Then, hey, there's a 10K 6 months from now. So we're going to transition after we do fat loss into starting to train for that 10K a little more. We're going to bump your calories up. So your fat loss is only going to be 3 or 4 months. Dig in. It's going to be hard. You're going to crush it. Then we're going to start,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So I like to create that like pathway for clients so then they can see the roadmap of what they're going to
right.
do with the coaching and how we're going to move them towards the multiple goals that they want to have.
What do you think's the one thing that you wish every client just understood sooner? Like I'm sure there's a couple common things, of course, that I'm sure you kind of deal with, but like there's got to be one that's like, fuck, like if you just this from day one, like come on, Cheryl or Carlos, like for
Yeah.
sure.
I think the biggest challenge, like the trickiest part is getting people like tracking their food consistently because if everyone just tracked their food consistently, like my coach, my team, like it's just so much more helpful when we have data and accurate
Yeah.
data. So it's like it's very hard when people are coming in and like so I've got this app I use and all my clients are on there so they can message us and then they're linked their food trackers and then I can create like I can pull up like a time frame. So I can pull up like 3 months and it'll create a graph and it'll show them every day of like where compared to like where their targets are on like calories and protein and all the things. And they're like, well, I'm tracking my food. And then I can pull it up and be like, does this look consistent to you? And they're like, no. So that's always helpful because that kind of hits it. But there's that consistency. There's still a lot. There's like, a lot of this is just around mindset too, right? So it's like, my dream would be everyone does all that mindset work, their counseling and stuff like that before they come in. But that's not always the case. So we got to play that role sometimes. But yeah, just like the consistency with tracking. So then I know like it's the same thing. Like I had a new client who was doing a consult, I think so like 2 weeks ago, and she was a nurse and she was like, I don't want to track my food. And she's just like, put up a wall. And I was like, what would you do if I came in and I wouldn't give you my blood work?
Yeah.
And she was like, touche, I will track my food. But
Yeah,
how am I
100%.
supposed to help you? Like when I don't know what you're eating, like how am I like, are you overeating? Are you undereating? Like, I don't know. Where's your fiber? Are you pooping? Like, like there's
Yeah.
too many what ifs. So it's like, if you're going to invest in this process and you're going to like commit to it, like go all in and do that, like that work so that we know, like, it's really like, clients sometimes will, they won't track the days that go off the rails a bit or whatever, or they know they're not going to hit their targets or they go out to eat or whatever. And sometimes that stuff makes sense to not track. But a lot of times there's too many gaps and holes. And I'm like, every day that's not tracked, there's 3 days a week that aren't tracked for the last month. did you overeat those days? Did you undereat? Like what
Mm,
happened? And then there's questions, but then it's like not accurate. And then they're like, why am I not seeing results? I'm like, well, I don't really know what's happening. I don't have any averages, right? So
yeah.
yeah.
Over like the past, I'd say maybe let's say like 10 years in terms of like your personal mindset on success or health, is there anything that you've like done a 180 on or completely changed your mind on that at one point was like a core tenet or like a very foundational belief?
Yeah, like for me personally,
Yeah, in like success of your business or in health.
oh yeah, big time. Because like we're talking 25 to 35 here, right? It's
Yeah.
like big massive changes. Like it's funny, I was talking about this today with Jeff, and like, you know, in 25 I was just like, what's happening today, maybe this week. Like I was always a good planner, but I wasn't like
Mhm.
thinking about like longevity or like being healthy for my kid and like that kind of stuff. So like there was a really big shift for me when I had my daughter, for sure. Really big shift to just like looking at the world differently, looking at how the language I'm using around food and exercise, wanting to raise a really strong, independent daughter who's confident, that kind of thing. So a lot shifted for me then. So about that like 3 years, maybe 4 when I was pregnant. You know, even just that like pregnancy piece was a big shift too, right? You know, I go from running 50K, like winning a powerlifting meet to running 50Ks 2 years later to now being pregnant and like barely like being in a lot of pain and nauseous. And like, so like, that was like a big shift in
Bonk.
itself for me. And so like coming out on the other side of that, I've wanted to be a really like, you know, I hate to like get your body back, but like really get to a spot where like I'm fitter at 35 than I was at 25, which is pretty cool.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so, but fitter to me is like I'm leaner. I'm not necessarily stronger. I was lifting more weight when I was 25, but I can, you know, I'm more athletic. I'm more capable. I can get up and down off the ground, like jump up and down and like chase my daughter. Those are the things I think about now is like when she's tired and she asks me to pick her up, she's 40 pounds. I can carry her with one arm up the hill. It's like that's the kind of stuff that I want to be
Oh,
able to do at 35, at 45. Maybe I'm not picking her up every
jacked mama.
you know what I mean? Maybe it's my like grandkids one day or whatever, right? So like,
Yeah.
you know, my perspective on my health has changed a lot to being like, I want to be strong, capable, and athletic. If when she's, you know, 20 and she's like, hey mom, let's run a half marathon together. I'm like, cool, got it. You know what I mean? Like no big deal. Like that's what I want to be able to do
Yeah.
through the next 20, 30 years of my life. I wasn't
Which
thinking
I
about,
feel like you'll just reply back with like, why not? Let's just do 50K. Like,
right?
what
I'll
do
be
you
like,
half marathon? Like,
yeah, I'll
come
just be
on,
like
girl.
race you up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's kind of where I'm now thinking about is like, you know, when I was 25, I wasn't thinking about any of that stuff. I was just like I was always trying to challenge and push myself and do those things. But, you know, from the health and wellness standpoint, that's kind of where I'm at now. Yeah, and then like from success, it's hard to remember back like 10 years. You know, you're still like mid 20s, you're still very much like survival mode with like
Hmm.
finances and like figuring getting like I think I was very just like wanting stability and like just working towards like stability. And now I'm thinking more about like, you know, like investments and like wealth for my daughter, things like
Yeah.
that. Like is more success to me that I'm like, you know, I'm setting up her life to be in a good spot, her education to be in a good spot. I'm like, there's a lot of stability in my business now, which is wonderful. So now it's like, how am I investing in my team? How am I giving back? How am I showing them value? Like that's success to me though. Now I'm not only providing a great life for myself, my daughter, my family, but also people who are working for me and that as well. Because that's like, I don't need to be like me more, right? It's like, okay, what's my enough? Great, we have some stability there. And then it's like, how can I make that for more people? How can I have that impact on more people? That's success to me.
Hmm.
Is like I can provide a great life for multiple people.
What are your thoughts on like the cost of ambition? Because like for me, and I've only known you for maybe a year now, I think. Like, but from my perspective of you, you're definitely like you live like a pretty like what I would call like a high performance life, but I think in some ways it's quite full. Like you have a great community, you have a daughter, you're like very healthy and fit, but is there anything that you find currently? I'm sure there's got to be something, but like to me you're quite successful. It's great. I'm like it's like someone's thriving, but what is there like is there anything right now you currently like find really challenging internally? Because there's always that balance I've found with myself and all, like pretty much everyone I know who's ambitious. There's like it's almost like a double-edged sword at times, like the self-criticism, the weird dichotomy of like, I think I can take over the world, and also like I am not capable of doing anything, in a weird sense, is sort of how I frame it with myself. Be curious on your thoughts, or if there's any domain that you find that really like speaks to.
My biggest challenge is definitely the work mom balance.
Mm,
So I'm a really hard worker.
yeah.
I'm like, I think, I've always just been like, I'll put more time in, I'll put more effort in, I'll put more whatever. I'll stay late, I'll go in early. Like, it's always been me. I've created really great opportunities for myself. I'm not scared to like put myself out there and make connections and do different things like that as well. So, and then when opportunities show up, I get really excited about them with work. And then sometimes I take on too much. And then I'm like,
Okay, yeah.
now I'm sticking my daughter in front of the TV at 6 a.m. because she's up and I have an hour of work to do because I'm booked with
Yeah.
clients. So now I'm like, I kind of got to that point and now I'm like, okay, I need to, restructure some things. So I want to get to a spot and I'm working there and I'm getting close where I can be 100% for the most part. Like there's always going to be moments, right? Like things are going to happen,
Mhm.
but like I can be present with her when I'm with her and I need to be with her. And then when I'm at work, I can be 100% present because 6 months to a year ago, and she's gotten like older. It's different when she's a baby, right? And she's like not move, they're just like in a little
Yeah.
swing or whatever. You're just like kicking them with your foot while they're like,
Yeah,
wait,
you're like Mr. Potato Head. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Oh, you
yeah.
pooed again. Great.
Yeah. And so like once she got like two-ish, that's when it like really hit me where I was like, man, I was like, I feel like the worst mom ever and also like the worst business owner ever. And
Mm.
like I feel like I couldn't like I was either being an awesome business owner and like nutrition coach and a shitty mom or vice versa. And so I'm working.
Fuck.
And
That's not good.
no, and I kind of got stuck there for a bit. And so I've been working this last little bit. I hired an personal assistant.
Nice.
It's been life changing. So she books all my appointments. She does some admin for Fettle. She books like she'll help me book travel. She books like all that kind of stuff for me. So that's been amazing. So that's freed up some time on my end. I just made another new hire for coach in April and who's been unreal. So I'm feeling really confident with where my team is at right now. I also have another coach who's been with me for like just like 4 years. So I've got a lot of stability there. So I feel like my team's in a really good spot where I can continue to like, I just want to get to the spot where like I can maybe not take new clients as much. And then I'm focusing on like so I can spend more time like being creative, working on the business. So then when I leave to go pick up my daughter from daycare, I can then be present with her. So that's the biggest thing
Mm.
that I'm struggling with. And like, I should say, like, mostly it's in a work in progress. So like the awareness is there to
Nice.
fix it and we're working on fixing it. It's just one of those things when you're sitting there and being like, I have 60 clients. Like, what do I, and you're just kind of like in this wheel of like, what do I do? How do I like, get out of it? Or like,
Yeah.
so that's a little
Not a
tricky.
good feeling.
And I genuinely like I love being client facing. So it's like that's the balance for me too, is like, yeah, sure, I could just be like, hey, I'm going to transition everyone off my plate and just do it. But I genuinely love working with clients. And
Yeah.
I'm not ready to let that go. And I don't. So I need it's finding that balance of like how much of that am I doing? So I still have time during my work day to work on the business, growing the business, being creative, doing the marketing, doing all that kind of stuff. So, all that balance stuff. But because I am like, in my 20s and early 30s before I had Isla, I was like, I just work all the time.
Yeah. It's like, what else are you gonna do?
And I love it. I love my job so much. Like genuinely, has not been a day. I think I was on a podcast last week and I said this. I was like, there's not been a day where I woke up and was like, I don't want to go to work today. Like
Huh.
I love my clients. I love hanging out with
Nice.
them. I love what I do. I love my mission, my values, like everything. Yeah, the space, my team. So like it feels good. So it's like hard to not want to do it all the time.
Yeah. That was a good answer, actually. That was great. And very like authentic. I want to ask you like a pretty specific question. I was watching a documentary. I really like, as you know, I really like mountain biking, but I also really like road cycling. And I was watching a documentary on one of the top road cyclists who's won the Tour de France a couple times, and he was speaking like he's quite young. He's like yeah, like early 20s, uber successful, like it's crazy. But the thing that he was speaking to was how interactivity fueling has changed over the years from like, he was talking about how maybe like 10, 15 years ago, it was like 30 to I think 60 grams of carbs. And he's doing like, he was saying he was doing like 160. And the interviewer, who's this like retired Tour de France guy, was just like, what the fuck? Like, you got to be joking. Like, you can't be serious. And then what was funny is because you've got me tracking my nutrition so well, I was like, wait, what? Like 160 grams of carbs, like on the bike while he's riding? Like, that's fucking, like, what is it? Like, I mean, obviously gels and stuff to get it in, but I was like, oh shit, that's a lot. Like, that's actually a lot.
Yeah. Road cyclists are definitely at the forefront of pushing more carbs per hour. Runners were like a little bit behind that because it's a little bit trickier to get the amount to like fuel. It's easier to fuel on a bike than it is running. But the gold standard, the research has shown that like anybody even just starting out, because like you have to train your body to do 160 grams of carbs an hour. Like you can't just do that like just you or I. Well, maybe I could because I've been like I'm closer to that. But like if you're currently like, oh yeah, maybe I like stop halfway through a 100K bike ride for a croissant and a coffee and keep going. Like you have to train your body and your stomach to be able to like
Yeah.
consume and like, you know, deal with that amount of nutrients coming in. But like the research has shown like 60 grams of carbs an hour is kind of like we can all digest and like deal like that's a good level to start with. So that's where I always start my runners at is at 60 grams an hour and then titrate up from there depending. I'm kind of in the range of like I'm like 80. So I do like 80 grams of carbs an hour is kind of where I'm at. My running coach is trying to push me closer to that 100 grams an hour. Yeah.
Could you explain that to someone, maybe the rationale why? Like, I have a buddy who he's like ran a couple marathons, but he like doesn't fuel at all, which to me is, I'm kind of like, you'd probably perform better. But I haven't really, like, my critical thinking, my understanding of just the energy systems is like, oh, after a certain amount of time, your glucose will be all used up, like the free floating glucose. Then you'll start to tap in your glycogen stores. But I'm sure the breakdown of glycogen like takes longer and is also strenuous on the body. So that's why you fuel. But honestly, like, that's kind of just my like critical thinking guess. Like, what is the sort of mechanism there, and why does that lead to such an improvement in your performance?
It basically is like delaying the onset of fatigue is what we're trying to avoid.
Simple as that.
That's like if you're asking me just like the simple like quick like not but like a ton. It's like we're trying to delay the onset of fatigue essentially. Like most people, if they're eating well, they go out to do like an activity, say like an endurance, we're talking endurance activities. And most people will have sort of like 75, 90 minutes of like stores in their body, depending. And so it's when we're looking at that, like that's kind of like half marathon, like after the half marathon distance, like, someone doing a half marathon maybe can pop like a gel and like maybe have some Gatorade and they're kind of like good. But when we're looking at anything in that like marathon and up sort of distance, we're going to burn through all that glucose that we have stored. And so the goal is to not get to empty. Like don't let your car tank get to empty before you fill it up. Essentially, it's like a good way to like look at it too. So it's like you're not going to wait until you run out of gas on the highway to then have to walk to the gas station and fill up your tank.
Like, right? Anecdotally as well, like my personal experience when I went through a phase where I was doing like my long road rides and I wouldn't bring anything. And then one time I just kind of pushed a little further and it like bonked. Like I just all of a sudden was like, fuck, like I'm dead now. Like this is horrible. And like I do some work with Triathlon Canada athletes. And so they had kind of explained to me, like I'd heard the language and kind of like what it feels like. And I was like, oh, like this is what the guys are talking about. Of course, they're, Olympic level athletes. Yeah. It's probably great to hear from them. But I was like, oh shit, like this is definitely kind of a thing. Like I didn't anticipate it being so, I don't know, dramatic in a way. Like I was like, oh my God, like I'm actually kind of just done. Like this is horrible. It wasn't like it was obviously a steady decrease in my performance, but then it was just like I totally crashed. But when I started then even bringing stuff on like probably a ride that it wasn't completely necessary, my wattage or my like average moving speed like stayed the same the whole time. And I remember just being like, this was 5 years ago, being like, holy fuck, like eat food? Like
Yeah.
this just like I was like, really? Like this is commonsensical.
Yeah.
All the endurance athletes do it, but I didn't realize how much better it actually made the activity feel as well as like the performance. It was actually crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people, once they like actually start, I have like a client right now. I've been working with her for a couple months. She's got a 50K that she's training for and like was super under eating carbs and like not feeling performance well, like during her runs and outside of her runs and stuff like that. And she's like super lean, like very fit mountain athlete. And we've just been like adding carbs every month. And like she's now just like she's like crushing it, like PRing runs and just like she's like, this is amazing. I'm like, yeah.
Nice.
And that's even like, so I even have my own nutrition coach, and that's something like we're working on to figure out like that, like where's the threshold of like how many carbs, even just like during the day, do I need and do I need to eat, let alone during my run. So like my long run days
Okay.
outrageous.
Really?
Yeah, like I'll do 375 grams of carbs. That's like my just during the day, and then I'll have like 80 grams of carbs an hour on my run.
During.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
You are carb loaded.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
actually crazy.
yeah, so it's a
So
lot.
I'm curious now because this is obviously, Arrow's a supplement company. And I'm curious on your personal stance on supplements as well as like what you would recommend or not recommend for your clients, because as like sort of the Arrow story, it's been like just such a convoluted journey. It's been
Yeah.
crazy. And I'm curious on like your personal experience, your professional experience, and sort of like what you do with clients and supplements.
Yeah. So I'm a food first approach for sure. I'm not a big
Right.
supplement pusher in terms of because there's just so much out there, like so many coaches, like, I'll get clients being like, are you gonna try to sell me supplements? Cause like I tried this coach and she was selling this like, whatever the different like MLM supplement stuff, right? Like so coaches will do that. And that just feels really unethical to me to be like, everyone drink my fizz water or
Yeah.
whatever that brand is or whatever. So like that kind of stuff I don't like. I don't think is yeah. So I'm not that approach. So usually what I do as part of our intake, we do like an intake with clients where one of the questions on the intake is like if you're taking any vitamins or supplements. So we get a sense of like if they are currently doing anything. And then as part of our intake, we look and be like, okay, we look at we get them to do some food logging. We get them to fill out this intake form. We do our body scan, all this stuff. So we kind of get this whole picture of like who this person is. Like we see their diet, we see what they're doing. And we're like, okay, like, are there gaps that are going to be hard to fill from a nutrition standpoint? Like a food standpoint. So like
Yeah.
so potentially that's an area where we might recommend supplements. Baseline, I'm typically telling people like this is not required. But having a protein
Mm,
powder can be super helpful for like making smoothies or if you're in a rush and you
yeah.
need like, different things like that or like doing some protein baking or things. So like I'm like having a protein powder is handy, not required, but can help you hit your protein goals. Vitamin D, most people I'm like, again, as a nutrition coach, like, I gotta be mindful of like scope of practice and things like that too. So like
Right.
the recommendations and suggestions for stuff like that. And then depending like when I do get my runners or performance people in, then there's definitely some things that I'm looking at more with them depending on what they're doing because we are going to deplete the body a bit, right? From certain nutrients that's going to be like very challenging to get from a food perspective. Creatine too. I'm like everyone have creatine.
Yeah. Everyone have creatine.
Everyone get on the creatine. So yeah,
Okay, so I need to just budge in for a sec because the team at Arrow, I think there's 7 of us and 6 men. We all take creatine. Madison is the one female founder, co-founder, and she is like on the fence about starting to take it. And we're all just like pushing the literature. She's
yeah.
worried about building too much muscle. And
No,
I
actually,
need to like clip this and send it to her from a woman who is like overqualified in a sense to speak on it.
yeah.
And for
It is,
women listening, because it's like a really common misconception, I think, as well.
yeah, yeah.
So
You're
what, like, yeah.
you're not going to accidentally put on too much muscle.
Yeah. I wish that was.
Right. Right. So you're not, it is actually difficult to put on muscle and a lot of it.
Yeah.
Like you're a scoop of creatine a day, you're not going to wake up and be 20 pounds heavier in muscle. It's not how it works. You need to
Yeah.
be eating the right amount of food for that. You need to be training at the right intensity, the right volume, and be consistent with that over a period of time. And you put on grams of muscle at a time, not pounds. Not going to happen. I've been taking creatine very consistently. I'm even pushing dosages up and zero weight gain. So yeah, you can let her know. And like the even just the cognitive benefits of the new research. I don't know how old she is, but they're doing like some pretty cool studies and like yeah. So I'm telling all the women to get on the creatine.
Okay, good.
But for my more like performance clients, like I'll be looking at like magnesium and glutamine and
Yeah.
potentially some omegas too. Like usually I'm like with clients, I'm like, can you eat fish once or twice a week? And they're like, no. Then like take an omega-3. Or just like the athletes too. So like for myself, like those are stuff like I take magnesium, I take glutamine, creatine, omega-3s, and vitamin D.
Nice. That's your stack, like daily.
That's my stack daily.
So I know in the gym you have Momentous. Like any other brands, like I'm more curious actually about your like evaluation process. I've taken Momentous, I bought their products as well. Like they're backed by some massive health influencers who are also quite qualified. They're just
Yeah.
they're not the fizz pushers.
The
But like
fizz.
what gives you that sense of trust? And are there other brands that you push people to and sort of why?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Arrow.
Well, I mean, yeah, come on. Let's get real. That was not set up, and I did not want her to say that.
No, I'm just teasing. Yeah, so like I mean the guys over at Popeyes are awesome, right? Like they're
Mm,
more educated. Like Chris and his team are very educated in that stuff. So I
yeah.
usually just tell people to I'm like, "Hey, I have Momentous here. I like it because da, 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 da. There's so many different brands out there. I use Thorne a lot. Thorne research like those I don't know if you've heard of
Mm,
Thorne, but I use them a lot for
yeah.
forecast. Like I used their prenatal when I was pregnant. And so yeah, so I usually send people over to Popeyes because I trust Chris and
Yeah.
like he's just very knowledgeable in that space, like more than me. Like I'm not super into supplements in that way of like really deep diving, even like with some of the stuff, the conversations we've had around yours, which I'm super excited to get some. But like I'm like that stuff that like that's even like I'm not down that road with supplements at
Mm,
all. So I usually direct people to people who are smarter than me in that area, like more questions than the my little bubble world of what I like and recommend and have done a little bit of research on.
I love that humility.
Can't all be an
Is
expert.
there Yeah. Are there any, like, do you find like clients ever come in and they're taking a product where immediately you're just like, oh shit, this is hocus pocus. Like, I understand it's not maybe your area of expertise, but it's like, I do have to do a little bit of education on why what you're taking is not what it says it is, or like the effects that they're promising are just complete
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah. Around the like proprietary blend stuff, like when people are like, I'm taking this Sleep Max blend. And I'm like,
Mm,
cool, let's look at it. And I'm like, okay, there's all these things in it, but there's not actually enough of any of these 8 things to
yeah.
do anything. Right. So it's like
Yeah.
taking like kind of crappy multivitamins or things like that where I'm like you're not taking any like you says you're taking all these things but I'd rather you take like I always just push people towards single ingredient stuff. So like get single ingredient supplements and then
Mhm.
and versus like blends of things that are promising like the recovery blend, the sleep blend, the
Yeah.
fat blend or whatever that are like, oh, but it has like 8 things in it. I just have to take this one tablet and I get 8 things. I'm like, well, there's not actually enough of these 8 things in there to do anything. And then that one tablet, you're only absorbing like 60% of it. So now,
Yeah.
right, that's usually where I'll educate around that and then be like, listen, once you're done it, I want you to stop taking it. I want you to buy these two, like if they're taking this, let's use the sleep example. Okay. I'd rather you just take like a single ingredient magnesium and a single ingredient valerian root or something like that to get
Yeah.
way more benefit for your sleep than what you're doing now.
Well, it's wild how many things you could even just say like products in the drink aisle that are like electrolyte drinks. and you look at the nutrition label and the like electrolyte contents, and it's just like, oh, there's practically no salt. There's actually like no electrolytes. Like, but hey, like they sell like crazy because the average consumer doesn't know. But I mean, that's the way it is.
Yeah,
We got
for
to keep
sure.
educating. So, last question about supplements: forever, for a time, and fuck no. Give me like your three. So,
Wait,
forever,
forever, for a time? No.
yeah. Like you can take that as like for yourself, or if you're recommending it to a client. And I give people like, you can either do like one and one, or you can do like three and three, two and two, whatever is just like easy for you to rattle off. Because
Uh,
some people are like, oh, but there's like three or four that I think people should be on forever. But what would be the sort of like, yeah, forever, for a time, and maybe like the use case,
okay.
like a, and then yeah, just never take that shit.
Well, I think like I'm pretty like sold on like I'm taking creatine forever. Like I think about myself as forever in every stage of life I'm going to go through from now until I die, right?
Okay.
So I'm saying creatine for that one. I'm saying for a time, maybe this is a gray area, but I'm saying protein powder because I don't want people to rely on it, but I want people to have it and use it to supplement when needed, travel, busy days, etc. I don't know if that counts.
No, totally.
And then fuck no, like fat burners.
Okay, fat burners, yes. Get into the controversy. I mean, it's not controversy at all, but like, fuck fat burners. Those things are complete bullshit. I mean, like, honestly, if you want a fat burner, like, just drink 6 cups of coffee. That's practically all they are, in my understanding. It's just like caffeine.
Yeah, and it's just garbage. It's just like it's not going to be if you're not eating in a calorie deficit, you're not burning. You're not going to be dropping
Yeah,
fat. So
poke it.
no matter how many fat burners you take, if you overeat, you're not going to drop fat.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, that is my
So
end.
I love that. That's great. And that's simple too. Like, perfect. Yeah, tell me what's to come, because I want to start wrapping things up. But
Mhm.
what are you looking forward to? Tell us maybe a bit about your training as it ramps up over the next little bit. And then, yeah, like what's coming for you in business? What's in the pipeline and that's got you really excited?
Yeah. So training is going really well. K is happening on August slash 10th because I think I will finish the next day.
Oh my God, 100K. That is actually, you're a 6'8", Stan. Like,
Yeah, it's a lot of elevation too. So it's like it's a big one. I think it's like 15,000 feet of elevation. Super, super backcountry. So we gotta have all your survival gear and things like that. So yeah, that one's pretty epic. So my training for that is like, yeah, it's ramping up. Like this is a really big week. Got a 35K run on Friday, followed by a 25K on the weekend. So doing a lot of like back to backs. So I'm kind of rotating that. So I'll do a back to back, and then the next week I won't. Like every second week, I'm doing a back to back to build volume because it's just part of it's just like logistically, it's hard to run. Like if I need to run 60K, it's just like hard to do that in a day, like self
yeah,
supported daycare drop off, pick up, like things like that. Like there's already one day where I have to get a babysitter to get Isla from work when I have to do a 50K. My husband's out of town. So like, yeah, just logistically. So the back to backs are really helpful for that. And then I get to practice running on tired legs because if I do 35K and then I got to turn around and do 25, like I'm going to have that fatigue the next day. So it's good to practice
mm,
that. Yeah. So training. Yeah. So that's kind of like my long runs. And then I kind of run 2 other days during the week. I do like a tempo speed day and then one easy kind of run, just like an easy zone 2 sort of jog. I've just dropped my strength from 3 to 2 times per week.
okay.
Yeah. So just as like running's picking up, it's just time, energy, capacity, that kind of thing. So yeah, strength is dropping down a bit. So that'll stay just 2 times a week until 2 weeks before my race. I'll drop strength completely. So I won't do
Mhm.
any strength workouts the 2 weeks before my race. I'll just redirect that time into like stretching, mobility, coming to see you for massage.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Stuff like that. And then after the 100K, so I've never done 100K. Like I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 50s. I don't know how my body's going to feel after. I don't know what that's going to look like. So it'll likely be a week or two of just like recovery and not pushing anything very hard. And then I'll usually like, I kind of enjoy going into the fall, like focusing on like body comp, just like after so much running in the summer, like I'll still run like always, but it's just nice to like kind of redirect focus a bit and take the pressure off the like long runs, and like giving up an entire day every week just for running is a lot. So nice to kind of get some of that time back too. So that's kind of how I'll redirect for like the rest of the year. I did that last year
Right.
after my running season. I switched to like body recomp focus and had a really, really great result. So I just kind of rinse and repeat that.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's kind of like for my training and physical stuff. Business wise, yeah, so I do a like a women's program. It's called Lift Her, and so I'm kind of focusing this summer on planning our fall cohort. We had a
Oh,
really good, yeah, so we do it in the fall and the spring. So we just wrapped up at the
okay.
end of May. We already have,
Okay, cool.
yeah, so we wrapped up in the end of May, and then start again in the fall. And I already have 70 people signed up, which is amazing. Yeah, so like kind of towards the end of the summer, I'll be focusing on sort of filling those last spots for that program and getting that running. I'm looking at kind of right now in like Q3 planning too. So like going to do a couple fun things for like strength training for runners through the gym as
Nice.
well on the docket for like early fall. I'm part of a project with Wild Play called Monkito. And so we have a pilot group doing it right now. So through the summer, it's just going to be like reflecting and seeing kind of how that went and making our plan for the future with that business.
Okay.
Yeah, Monkito is all about just like reconnecting in nature and like giving adults like fun playtime in the woods.
Nice.
Basically, if you
Yeah.
like smush together like workouts and a Spartan race with like aerial stuff like climbing cargo nets and like, yeah, it's really, really cool. It's like we're calling it the lost art of monkeying around, essentially.
Cool. Okay, nice.
So that's been a lot of fun. I'm kind of working on that project the last little bit. And yeah, right now it's just kind of like letting the pilot group go through it. So we have 10
Okay.
people doing the pilot through May and June. And
Ah,
then what else do we have going on? The summer's always like a little bit slower in the world of like this kind of stuff for sure. It's a lot of
yeah.
planning because the fall picks up a lot. I've got some fun like challenges and some webinars and things like that planned. But really, like again, with Fettle, everything's like super stable with that business. It's just more about just injecting more fun ideas and like different ways to engage people and things like that in it. But we kind of have our rhythm going now with like the Lift Her program and then our full coaching clients and things like that. So yeah.
Any big risks you're up like considering taking a business? Like the new business there sounds pretty cool. And I mean, always starting a new business is a bit of a risk, but anything you're kind of like, on the boiler getting ready to launch?
No, because it's honestly the last like 5 years have just been like that.
Yeah, totally.
So it's, Fettle and Food hit 5 years last November. So coming up on, it'll be 6 years this November. And, the end of last year, I was kind of like, I finally felt like I could like do that. Like I've literally just been like,
Yeah.
so I finally feel like hitting that 5 year mark and like the stability that came around that time. I'm really enjoying that, and just I'm not as stressed about, oh my gosh, like if we lose 2 clients and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, do I need to like stress about this and try to like figure out how I'm going to make that income? Like we're not there anymore. Like there's a steady flow of new clients. There's always going to be a little bit of attrition. We have a great community. The coaches are awesome. Like, so everything just feels really stable there, which is great. So I feel like I can finally just like kind of like take that deep breath and enjoy the stability of it.
Nice.
My daughter's
Yeah.
3, like spend that time with her. I'm putting a ton of hours into my training, and I want to continue to grow the business. There's nothing like, yeah, Monkito will be coming down the pipeline. We're doing some fun things at the gym, right? Like we're going to run our 42 strong program again in the
Mm.
fall. So there's always like things happening, right? But there's nothing like major new that's going to be launching. I'm doing a little more public speaking. I'm doing some workshops and presentations for different things, that kind of stuff. So the
I
calendar's
love
busy.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Oh my God, super busy.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining and coming on. But before we go, can you just plug all your socials, the businesses, where everyone can like find you and get a hold of you, especially if you live in Victoria? Go to the
Yeah.
gym,
Yes,
do
yes,
some
yes.
nutrition stuff with Ann.
Yeah, come to our gym, Tropos Fitness Club. We're on Blanchard Street. You can find us on Instagram if you search Tropos Fitness Club. You can just give us a Google too. I'm sure you'll have some show notes and stuff like that. The nutrition coaching, Fettle and Foods, Fettle.food on Instagram. We're located in the gym. So one-stop shop for everything, which is lovely. You can do both services. You can do one, does not matter. I'm always open to giving time to talk to people, complimentary. So if anyone wants to do that, You can shoot me a message on Instagram. I'm Ann, ANN.Chisholm, CHISHOLM, 13. Yeah.
Get at her.
Yeah.
Get at her if you want to look like her. I don't know if that's like, we're allowed to say that or,
Do people, I don't know if anyone wants to look like me, but
whatever. Fuck.
you just got
All
to run.
right. Yeah, you just got to run 50K.
Awesome. Thank you.